2 Samuel 9. David is kind to Mephibosheth. One day, David thought, I wonder if any of Saul's family are still alive. If they are, I will kind to them because I made a promise to Jonathan. David called in Ziba, one of the servants of Saul's family. David said, So you are Ziba? Yes, your majesty, I am. David asked, Are any of Saul's family still alive? If there are, I want to kind to them. Ziba answered, One of Jonathan's sons is still alive, but he can't walk. Where is he? David asked. Ziba replied, He lives in Lo-Debar with Machir, the son of Amiel. David sent some servants to bring Jonathan's son from Lo-Debar. His name was Mephibosheth, and he was the grandson of Saul. He came to David and knelt down. David asked, Are you Mephibosheth? Yes, I am, my majesty. David said, Don't be afraid. I'll be kind to you because Jonathan was your father. I'm going to give you back the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul. Besides that, you'll always eat with me at my table. Mephibosheth knelt down again and said, Why should you care about me? I'm worth no more than a dead dog. David called in Ziba, Saul's chief servant, and told him, Since Mephibosheth is Saul's grandson, I've given him back everything that belonged to your master Saul and his family. You and your 15 sons and 12 servants will work for Mephibosheth. You will farm his land and bring in his crops, so that Saul's family and servants will have food. But Mephibosheth will always eat with me at my table. Ziba replied, Your Majesty, I will do exactly what you tell me to do. So Ziba's family and servants worked for Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth was lame, but he lived in Jerusalem and ate at David's table, just like one of David's own sons, and he had a young son of his own named Micah. Chapter 10. Israel fight Ammon. Some time later, King Nahash of Ammon died, and his son Hanun became king. David said, Nahash was kind to me, and I'll be kind to his son. So he sent some officials to the country of Ammon to tell Hanun how sorry he was that his father had died. But Hanun's officers told him, Do you really believe David is honoring your father by sending these people to comfort you? He probably sent them to spy on our city, so he can destroy it. Hanun arrested David's officers and had their beards shaved off on one side of their faces. He had their robes cut off just below the waist, and then he sent them away. They were terribly ashamed. When David found out what had happened to his officers, he sent a message and told them, "Stay in Jericho. Until your beard grow back, then you can come home." The Ammonites realized that they had made David very angry, so they hired more foreign soldiers. 20,000 of them were foot soldiers from the Aramean cities of Beth Rehob and Jobah. 1,000 were from the king of Makkah, and 12,000 were from the region of Tob. David heard what they had done, and he sent out Joab with all of his well-trained soldiers. The Ammonite troops came out and got ready to fight in front of the gate to their city. The Arameans from Jobath and Rehob and soldiers from Tob and Makkah formed a separate group in the nearby fields. Joab saw that he had to fight in front and behind at the same time, and picked some of the best Israelite soldiers to fight the Arameans. He put his brother Abishai in command of the rest of the army and gave them orders to fight the Ammonites. Joab told his brother, "If the Arameans are too much for me to handle, you can come and help me. If the Ammonites are too strong for you, I will come and help you. Be brave and fight hard to protect our people and the cities of our God. I pray that the Lord will do whatever pleased him." Joab and his soldiers attacked the Arameans, and the Arameans ran from them. When the Ammonite soldiers saw that the Arameans had run away, they ran from Abishai's soldiers and went back into their own city. Joab stopped fighting the Ammonites and returned to Jerusalem. The Arameans realized they had lost the battle, so they brought all their troops together again. Hadadezer sent messengers to call in the Arameans who were on the other side of the Euphrates River. Then Sobak, the commander of Hadadezer's army, led them to the town of Haram. David found out what the Arameans were doing, and he brought Israel's whole army together. They crossed the Jordan River and went to Haram, where the Arameans were ready to meet them. The Arameans attacked, but then they ran from Israel. David killed 700 carrot drivers and 40,000 cavalry. He also killed Sobak, their commander. When the kings who had been under Hadadezer's rule saw that Israel had beaten them, they made peace with Israel and accepted David as their ruler. The Arameans were afraid to help Ammon anymore. David and Besedas. It was now spring, the time when kings go to war. David sent out the whole Israelite army under the command of Joab and his officers. They destroyed the Ammonite army and surrounded the capital city of Rabbah. But David stayed in Jerusalem. Late one afternoon, David got up from a nap and was walking around on the flat roof of his palace. A beautiful young woman was down below in her country yard, bathing as her religion required. David happened to see her, and he sent one of his servants to find out who she was. The servant came back and told David, "Her name is Beseda. She is the daughter of Eliam, and she is the wife of Uriah the Hittite." David sent some messengers to bring her to his palace. She came to him and he slept with her. Then she returned home, but later, when she found out that she was going to have a baby, she sent someone to David with this message, "I'm pregnant." David sent a message to Joab, "Send Uriah the Hittite to me." Joab sent Uriah to David's palace, and David asked him, "Is Joab well? How is the army doing? And how about the war?" Then David told Uriah, "Go home and clean up." Uriah left the king's palace, and David had dinner sent to Uriah's house. But Uriah didn't go home. Instead, he slept outside the entrance to the royal palace, where the king's guard slept. Someone told David that Uriah had not gone home. So the next morning, David asked him, "Why didn't you go home? Haven't you been away for a long time?" Uriah answered, "The sacred chest and the armies of Israel and Uriah and Judah are camping out somewhere in the field with our commander Joab and his officers and troops. Do you really think I would go home to eat and drink and sleep with my wife? I swear by your life that I would not." David said, "Stay here in Jerusalem today, and I will send you back tomorrow." Uriah stayed in Jerusalem that day. Then the next day, David invited him for dinner. Uriah ate with David, who gave him so much to drink that he got drunk. But Uriah still did not go home. He went out and slept on his mat near the palace guards. Early the next morning, David wrote a letter and told Uriah to deliver it to Joab. The letter said, "Put Uriah on the front line where the fighting is the worst. Then pull the troops back from him so that he will be wounded and die." Joab had been carefully watching the city of Rabbah, and he put Uriah in a place where he knew there were some of the enemy's best soldiers. When the men of the city came out, they fought and killed some of David's soldiers. Uriah the Hittite was one of them. Joab sent a messenger to tell David everything that was happening in the war. He gave the messenger these orders: when you finish telling the king everything that has happened, he may get angry and ask, "Why did you go so near the city to fight? Didn't you know they were shoot arrows from the war? Don't you know how Abimelech, the son of Gibeon, was killed at Telbaz? Didn't a woman kill him by dropping a large rock from the top of the city wall? Why did you go so close to the city walls? Then tell him, one of your soldiers who was killed was Uriah the Hittite." The messenger went to David and reported everything Joab had told him. He added, "The enemy chased us from the wall and out into the open field, but we pushed them back as far as the city gate. Then they shot arrows at us from the top of the wall. Some of your soldiers were killed, and one of them was Uriah the Hittite." David replied, "Tell Joab to cheer up and not to be upset about what happened. You never know who will be killed in a war. Tell him strengthen his attack against the city and break through its walls." Then Bathsheba heard that her husband was dead. She mourned for him. Then after the time for mourning was over, David sent someone to bring her to the palace. She became David's wife, and they had a son. The Lord's message for David. The Lord was angry because of what David had done.